Okay.
Hey, what's up? What's up? This is Group 315
Hey.
checking in live from the Troy University Library.
Yep.
We got Russ Oliver here.
Hey, I'm Beth Shiver.
I'm Jackson Fields.
Savannah Schofield.
So today we're going to be discussing some different interpersonal communications between the two movies of Stranger Than Fiction, dealing with Harold Crick and Anna Pascal, and then When Harry Met Sally, obviously in the title, dealing with Harry and Sally. Would anybody like to start us off?
I think I'll go first. So I want to talk about Harold Crick's relationship with Anna. So I feel like the social penetration theory is huge for this movie. I feel like they skipped stage 2 in social penetration theory, which is the exploratory stage, which is finding out about personal self, closed groups, religion, and political choice. I feel like they had, bless you. You all right? I feel like they had an orientation stage at the beginning when they first met each other. It was kind of mutual acquaintance, just saying hello and just being polite. But they skipped stage 2 and went straight to stage 3, which was all about emotions, so on and so forth. When Harold Crick came up to her and told her he wanted her, that was a big step. So what do you guys think? You guys think they skipped stage 2? What do you got? We gotta bounce back on that.
All right, Jackson, how do you think they skipped the exploratory stage?
Because throughout the movie, I didn't really, hear or view anything that was, trying to figure out about their religion or like what closed groups they're in or like the political choice. It was more so over, hey, like I like you, you like me. Let's see where this goes in a sense. Because after he went to the house, after he went over to drop the flower off to her, that's when stage 3 happened in my eyes.
Do you all think that they could have touched on it? I agree with you when you say they skipped it, but maybe she was like fearful without saying she was fearful. Do you think that could still be?
Yeah, I think it might have been a little bit one-sided on the exploratory just portion of that, because when he came in with his he was going to audit her, and it was very like visible that she was against it. She didn't like paying taxes. She was only going to pay the taxes that she wanted to pay, which makes her kind of a anarchist.
Very stubborn.
Yeah, which kind of revealed a little bit of her political beliefs. So I feel like maybe she revealed some of that, but he didn't really necessarily.
Okay.
I also think in that same, like when they meet each other, that relationship dimension is very interesting because, like you said, he's going in there as a tax man, coming to collect taxes, and she's hearing that, but the way he's acting when he walks in there is very much like, maybe right at first he isn't like, yeah, I'm the tax man, but then he starts kind of acting strange and awkward, and then I guess she saw something in him that she liked because she started falling for him.
Definitely.
And they didn't even know each other. So I think that relationship dimension right there is definitely interesting because what he was showing is not what he was saying, and she picked up something there.
So what type of flirting style you think he was using? Yeah, maybe polite or traditional. I don't.
Is there an awkward flirting style?
I don't know that he necessarily was using a flirting style.
That was it. Maybe just being himself. And, she just wasn't really flirting. I guess, like you said, she saw something in him that's made her fall in love for sure.
Just a natural flirting, like it's just being himself. I think that's really what it was.
Going off of flirting styles, to Harry and Sally, do you think that Harry or Sally had a specific type of flirting style? What do y'all think?
I think Harry had kind of like I'm the man kind of a personality, like kind of assertive. Maybe? Yeah. I feel like he was a little bit overconfident.
Definitely.
Whereas Sally was kind of like, she was more traditional, I think. And I think that Harry was just a little bit overconfident. And like that was kind of how he flirted, was by like pumping up himself.
Yeah, like bouncing back up what you said, like very overconfident. He first met the girl and he told her it was his friend's friend or something like that, his girlfriend's friend or ex, something like that. And he told her he wanted to spend the night in a motel with her, which was crazy for the first time meeting somebody. So I feel like definitely, over pumping his head up and hyping it up. But since we're staying on Harry and Sally, do you think Sally fell for Harry because they were complete opposites? Because she was more of a, I wouldn't say stuck up person, but she is, you know, she has order to her life. She wants
like
everything
stuck in her ways.
stuck in her ways. Yeah, like she wants everything her way. Everything has to be perfect. So what's y'all's take on that? Do y'all think the complementarity theory, you know, opposites attract, or, you know, let me hear y'all's take on that.
Probably definitely opposites do attract, but also there, like, I think the timing was just so, it's a movie obviously, but the timing was just so off every time. And then they finally realized, hey, we've ran into each other like 3 or 4 times now. Let's see if we can make something work. And maybe it is like an opposite attract thing. Like maybe she at first didn't want to give in to him because he had such a confident flirting style and stuff. And maybe she didn't like that at first. I mean, some part of it, because she would laugh at what he said sometimes. Yeah. Except that airport interaction, she was really trying to get out of there at that one. But
yeah, I think she was charmed almost too. Sometimes you don't expect people to charm you, and then they just like sweep you off your feet. You know, it's like I'm trying to think of the word when you're surprised. You know.
I think as much as she tried to put up a front of that, like she didn't like him.
She fell for him.
She did fall for him, and I think that like her self concept, like the way that she viewed herself, was ultimately like reliant on validation and affirmation, and he wasn't giving her that at first. Like he was just kind of like, "You want me?" kind of thing, like just kind of like this expectation, and that kind of turned her off. Like she was like, "Yeah, no, like this guy's stuck up. Like I'm not about this." But then like as time passed, and they kept seeing each other.
Right. I think going in that's interesting. So like with the message receiver and like the noise and feedback terms and stuff like that, Harry was definitely trying to like send a message to Sally at first, and she was not receiving it. And you know, maybe there was some noise. And like, what do y'all think? Like, was there like something making her not want to receive the message he was trying to send, or
maybe his body language could be a factor? You know, that's not really noise, I would say, but kind of though, because you know, if I look at someone and I'm talking to him, and they're not looking at me, like his butt was in her face and he spit on her window, like just stuff that they're doing, like that would kind of make me not want to talk to anybody and turn me off a little bit. But yeah, I feel like that's all I got on that.
I think like Savannah said too, though, like she was expecting one thing and then she got another, and sometimes like the element of surprise is just better. Speaking on the looking glass self, how do y'all think that applies to or between Harry and Sally?
Yeah, so I think like a good working definition that we got in class was of the looking glass self is how you think the other person thinks that you are. And I think that Harry definitely thought that Sally viewed him as like a masculine man, a charming man, and someone that she should be with. But that's only through Harold's perspective. That's him looking through glass.
Harry's perspective.
Harry.
No, well, maybe his name is Harold. Who knows? Who knows? Speaking of Harold, well, how does the looking glass self apply with like maybe? What about between like Harold and Professor Jules? Like, because I feel like at first Harold obviously knows he's not crazy, but he knows if he's trying to tell people, he hears a voice, you're gonna think he's crazy. So like, does he see Professor Jules as seeing him as crazy, or vice versa? What would Professor Jules see him as, seeing Harry as Harold? Look, I just did it too. But y'all get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at first Professor Jules definitely thought he was crazy. You know, he's saying there's a voice in his head, and he's like, "Do you hear that? Do you hear that?" But the professor doesn't hear it, but Harry does. And then once, you know, later in the movie when they see the TV and he said it's his favorite authors, you know, it's kind of weird. He's like, "No, that's the same exact voice. Like, I know I'm not crazy. Like, that's who it is." And then Professor Jules ends up meeting the author, which name is
Karen.
Meets Karen. So I feel like now, I mean, he kind of connected the dots, but he still might think Harry's crazy. But definitely Harold thinks Harold's crazy, but definitely, yeah, no, I don't know. Maybe at first that was crazy, but as time went on, he finally found out, like, yeah, he's not really crazy.
Yeah.
What about and then we can get off of this, but the looking glass self between Anna and Harold.
Yeah, I feel like Harold thought that Anna thought that he was analytical and hard-hearted just because he was a tax man at first, and like obviously that changed throughout the movie, but I feel like that initial feeling is how Harold thought that Anna viewed him.
I agree. Yeah. So kind of transitioning from the looking glass theory, based on how Anna and Harold felt about one another, I feel like that could also relate back to implicit personality theory, which is basically the personal assumptions about other people's personalities. So I think at first, kind of like Savannah was saying, it was easy for her to almost kind of to make an assumption in her head, like he was there to, audit her, I think, and, tax man coming in to her bakery, her area, her place, and kind of taking charge. So it was easy for her to kind of make all these assumptions about him, but really that's not how his character was at all. He was just trying to do his job. So how do y'all think?
Well, I think bouncing off that, we could apply the learning theory here.
Yeah.
And so, like you were saying, that wasn't how his character was. And I think she started realizing that. And, at first she was being like super like, screw the IRS. Like, I'm not paying my taxes to y'all and all this. And then she realized like he was a pretty nice guy. And so she tried to she did do that one thing where she like scattered all of her tax files and then made it like really difficult for him to audit her. But then after that, she messed with him a little bit and gave him a hard day, and then was like, all right, here's some cookies. And then they got friendly with each other and stuff. So I think she definitely like learned the type of person that he actually was and wanted to, felt bad about what she did, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like at first it was easy for her to come off super aggressive, and it obviously made him uncomfortable. But the learning theory really just talks about how we're learning to adapt and adjust towards other people and kind of observing how they behave and depending on what they're saying and doing. So there's definitely some adaptation there. I think even maybe from both parties.
Yeah, I think they definitely learned from each other and then adapted based on what they perceived made the other uncomfortable.
Yeah. Definitely.
Especially at the beginning, their relationship, when he first walked into the bakery versus at the end, obviously those are two completely...
The box of flowers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Completely different.
Smooth with it.
Yeah.
Which, I guess we're almost out of time here. Which movie did y'all enjoy more?
I personally, I enjoyed both of them, but there's just something about Harry and Sally and just, I don't know, Meg Ryan, and it's just a fun, sweet movie. I love like old school stuff, and I don't know, it was just so entertaining, and I just love. I don't know, but I just thought it was sweet and fun. And
what about like Harold and Anna's relationship?
but like Harold and Anna, like I don't really love cheesy stuff, but I thought it was really kind of smooth how he had the flower and I used that move on her, and that was probably more of a deeper movie than Harry and Sally. But
yeah, I get what you're saying about Harry and Sally. It's definitely not a cheesy romance movie.
Yeah.
Not for real.
Yeah.
Not like
I don't know.
Harold and Anna.
Yeah,
Right.
I think I like Stranger Than Fiction more just because we saw more of it. Like, I feel like we only saw bits and pieces of Harry and Sally, and it was like a long time ago, so I'm like only able to recall a couple details.
No, definitely. I feel like Stranger Than Fiction. That was a good, funny movie. I had a little giggles and laughs in there. I like how it was set up. I just like the way the movie was put on. Great writer, great actors. Yeah.
What stood out to y'all the most in the movies? Just anything, or the thing maybe y'all even liked the most?
Maybe the way Harold just, Harold's the influence of Professor Jules on Harold to just change his life and not do anything one day to just flip the whole movie around in my eyes. When he's like, hey, just stay at the house, don't do anything, don't answer the phone, don't do this, don't do that, and just live the life that you want to live. So I feel like definitely, that,
I think
right there.
Character development, and I don't know if there's like a communications term for this. I couldn't find it in the book, but like there was multiple aspects of character development in the book, like Harold being like living just a really shallow life and then like experiencing love, and then Anna being anti everything and like now she's experiencing love, and the professor is having growth in her life as well, and the professor is seeing a different side of literature for the first time, and I think like from all aspects of the movie, like all the characters experience development in some form or fashion, and that was just really cool to see.
I agree.
Yeah, I think with like Harry and Sally, what stood out to me was just like how they literally like ran into each other over the course of what was it, like 14 or 15 years or something like that, like several times. and then finally we're like, yeah, all right, let's try it out. Like, I don't know, is that realistic? Like, I don't know. I'm sure there's relationships like that, but who knows?
Because like you were saying, of course it's a movie, but at the same time, like, I don't know, sometimes timing is better another way, and you just keep running into people, and if they're in your path and it's meant to be, then it's meant to be.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah. All right, well, thanks for listening to the Group 315 podcast. We'll be back at you with another one. Once again, this is Russ.
Beth and
Jackson.
Savannah.
Take it easy.
Bye.